Assalamualaikum, hello and good morning. Welcome to today's topic where we discuss your everyday topic to get more insights, views, and ultimately get more enlightened. We at UMCCed are striving to be your center of excellence for continuing education. My name is Arisha Rozaide and I will be your moderator for today. Last week, we have discussed the topic of finding your side hustle where we invited our two young ladies who had their small businesses while juggling their 9 to 5 jobs. So to get to know more about juggling two jobs, find our video in our archive below in our Facebook and our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and follow our pages. So specifically for today, we will talk more about the topic of work and study. This is in conjunction of our currently running intake for our diploma and executive diploma. For your more information, we currently have 4 courses of diploma that offered at our UMCCed at our 2 campuses in Kuala Lumpur and also in Bachok, Kelantan. You can apply with us by this 31st August, but before midnight. But today we want to talk more about our executive diploma programs. Currently, we have 9 offered programs. These are all part-time programs that the time and flexibility are fully owned by yourself. We will be receiving applicants until the 26th of September, meaning that you have a month for you to reconsider your options to make this decision. So for this particular executive diploma programs, it is a program designed for working adults. So for you to be eligible to enroll in this program, you have to have at least 6 months of minimum of working experience before you join us in our programs. Thus, this is why we are here today to talk more about working and study and how you find those balance and what actually inspired you to make those decisions. With me today is two lovely young ladies, not well, some are young, some are discussable. Mdm Khairunnisa Bujang, our very own lecturer in the UMCCed, who have served us for 9 years. Sorry, so she have a lot of subjects that she taught. That she's very experienced in teaching industry. And another speakers with us is Arisha Rozaide. She is a writer from says.com. She is a she is a postgraduate student with University of Malaya at the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So let us invite Arisha Rozaide and Puan Khairunnisa into the live. Hi, ladies.
Guys,
How are you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you
Especially,
so much for having me here.
especially in this pandemic. I think you are muted.
Oh yes.
We
Okay.
can hear.
Thank you. Can you
Okay,
hear
and
me?
now we can hear your lovely voice. Yeah. Okay, first and foremost, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us in this webinar. I extended my invitation, and I'm so glad that I'm having to.
Okay. First and foremost,
I'm glad to being able to get you in our schedule here. Arisha and Puan Karinisa both have different perspective. Arisha is coming from student's perspective, who is juggling her career as well as working student. And Puan Karinisa is actually is a lecturer who is handling working adults, but also had a fair share of experience herself who work and study. So I think I give the introduction to you, Puan Karinisa, for you to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi. Assalamualaikum, everyone. So first of all, thank you, Ashak, for inviting me as a speaker for this exciting webinar. My name is Khairunnisa, but the students here call me Madam Nisa. And a little bit about my study background. I studied mathematical science, minoring in business administration for my foundation studies and bachelor's degree from UIA. And in 2017, I decided to pursue my study as a part-time student at for its Master of Business Administration MBA program, and I attended the evening classes for about 3 years while working as a full-time lecturer. So I've been teaching in UMCCed diploma and executive diploma program for business subjects such as marketing, entrepreneurship and business statistics for almost 9 years. And during that period, I'm blessed with the opportunity to meet and guide thousands of students from diploma and executive diploma program.
Thank you for bringing. So, what about your story, Arisha?
So my name is Arisha Rozaide. I have been a UM student for over 5 years now. I studied as an undergrad in the English department, majoring in English literature for about 3 years and a half. And then right after my undergrad program, I joined the postgrad program at the same department and the same faculty. So I'm currently still a student under the English department at UM.
And you're also currently working with
Yes,
cis.com
I'm
as a
currently
content
working full
creator.
time as a content specialist at Sales.com, and I've been working here for approximately 2 years now. So throughout my
Uh,
whole master's degree, I've always been fully employed. Yep.
I see. So, a questions for Arisha first. So, how do you decided to start? Because from the way that you say you continued your degree, bachelor's degree to your master's degree quite
Mm-hmm.
uh, right after that time. So, how do you start and what the decision that makes you start the program?
So for first and foremost, I actually really enjoyed my undergrad program. So it wasn't a difficult decision for me to make to decide to want to pursue my masters. The
Mm-hmm.
program I took during undergrad, the format was that I would be doing industrial training for my final semester. So at that final semester, during the industrial training, I was already working for SAYS. I interned at SAYS and I was already a job right after my internship. So during that internship, I enjoyed working for SAYS, but I realized that for the most part, I missed being a classroom, especially being with my lecturers again and then discussing books because these aren't particularly things that I would discuss outside of the classroom when it comes to and my field of work is very different from what I studied. So I've thought, okay, maybe I want to pursue a master's lah so that I can return to the classroom. So even during my internship, I applied for the master's. So I was still an undergrad when I applied for my master's, and I joined straight away after the end of my internship. So as an undergrad, to apply straight away, you would have to have the support of your faculty. So I haven't graduated yet at all at that point, basically. So I didn't even have a transcript. I haven't even finished all of my semesters as an undergrad. But I talked to my department, I asked them, and then they helped me produce a few letters and so on and so forth. And then that helped me with my application as a master's student. So basically, the semester would end around January, right? So my internship ended that year in December. And then in February, I was already a master's student. I already joined my classes.
That's really fast.
Yep.
So what about Pankanisa? Because the way that Arisha told her story that she haven't had a break from the undergraduate to master's degree. So what about Pankanisa? Because are you continuing your master's degree straight away, or was there a break? What was the story behind
Oh,
it?
actually, I'm enrolled in the postgrad program, okay, as a part-time student when I was an assistant lecturer in UMCCed 4 years back. So that time, I'm still an assistant lecturer for about 3 or 4 years. And then in order for me to join the MBA program in there's a one requirement that you need to have at least 5 years working experience during that time. So that's why I take a break first after the degree in order for me to pursue my study in a master's degree.
I think that's a very two interesting two different perspectives because Arisha continuing her master's degree out of pure personal satisfaction because she mentioned just now that her English literature master's degree doesn't necessarily in line with her job scope. Am I correct,
Mm-hmm.
Arisha?
Yep.
And Pankanisa is doing her MBA is for career growth basically, right?
Yes, yes.
So
It's for
basically
my
that's
career because I actually teach the business subjects, right? So I think
mm,
it's a need for me lah to pursue my
mm,
study. Mm.
correct. To actually gain more input for you to give more
Yes.
output to your students as a lecturer yourself. So
Yep.
in terms for Arisha, because you're saying that this master's degree doesn't necessarily help you in your career line. So what other than interest itself, where are you seeing this master's degree gonna pay for it?
So basically, I really started out wanting to join the master's program because of pure rindu nak masuk kelas, rindu to see my own lecturers. do to be with classmates. And then I decided, like, I realized I really enjoyed undergrad, and it felt like by the end of the program, it felt like I was shocked that it was done. I was shocked that I was just
uh,
done. And if I didn't
uh,
pursue a master's, that would have meant that I wouldn't have to sit in a classroom ever again for the rest of my life, right? So that made me feel like, okay, let's just pursue a master's. And at the same time, I feel like the decision was very much driven by the fact that I wasn't entirely sure whether I was going to be absorbed as a full-time worker or not. So I wanted to also have a
a
backup plan
safety
basically
net.
for myself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So even
Uh-huh.
if I didn't get to continue working, it says that I would be doing my master's full time. Like, I did not
Mm.
initially plan to do both masters at the same time and
And
work at the
working.
same time, but I didn't want to let go of either one. So I just
Mhm.
went in for both.
Do.
But you're right lah. The media industry is very vast and is very diverse. It has so many kinds of people, and I know that a lot of people in the media industry don't necessarily have to be like certified. You don't really need to have like a PhD in media or so on and so forth. A lot of people I respect and I really look up to in the media industry itself, are people who don't necessarily like come from a higher education background or anything. But
Mhm.
so honestly, I do not particularly think that if I stay in this industry that my certificate would help boost my career. I don't particularly
Mhm.
think like, oh, I wouldn't magically naik pangkat because of my masters and so on and so forth. That's not how the media industry works. It's more focused on experience actually. So, but I feel that I'm also very young. This is my first full time job, and there's no
Mhm.
telling of where I would go from now on. So I am not
Mhm.
completely opposed to the idea of maybe pursuing like different fields after this. Maybe even going into
Mhm.
education. Maybe starting to teach literature as a lecturer. Maybe teaching at schools. So
Mhm.
I don't feel like even if my job right now isn't
Mhm.
particularly like married to my master's degree, that
Mhm.
I don't think it's a complete waste, at the same time.
Mhm. Understand. That's very interesting views. So Pakaranisa, Arisha mentioned something about gaining the momentum, right? Because she full trust her bachelor's degree into the master's degree because of the longing to be in the classroom. This is very something very
That's
I look up to
a
say.
very nerd thing to say, I know, but that
Yeah.
was just me in undergrad. I love studying. I love what we studied, and I wanted to study the exact same thing again. So,
Mhm.
yep,
You wanted more of that. So
yep.
question for Incarnisa, because you have a quite gap where you when you finish your undergrad and then you get your job as an action assistant lecturers, and then you after 3 to 4 years you get back. So does the momentum affect it? How do you manage your momentum?
Okay, like for Arisha, she actually have this momentum. That is a part of my motivation as well, but mainly, okay, as an academician, I always have these needs or eagerness to enhance or to improve my knowledge and my skills in order to educate. Right. So, and I also strongly believe that when I learn more, okay, or when I
Mhm.
read more, my students will also learn more from me, not just
True,
from learning from the textbooks. All
true,
right. So
true.
I think that becomes my main motivation on why
Mhm.
I decide to continue my study.
Yep.
I really adore how Pankarini answer the questions because she fully in her responsibility of being an educator and an academician for her to for her to take on the master's degree, not only for her but also for her students. That's very something we should look up to lah. Pankarini, I applaud you for that. Um, and also, Pankarinisa, you told me before that when you took your master's degree, you are obviously working, but also you as a mother of two at
Yeah.
that time. So
And
meaning
now
that you are now three, okay. So meaning that you are juggling a few responsibilities. Being a mother wasn't is not easy. So how do you balance these responsibilities? This is, I think, a question that a lot of people ask. Those finding those balance are very hard though. So how do you do it?
Okay.
Pankarinisa?
How do I balance? So firstly and most importantly, time management. So I always keep in my mind that I need to use my time wisely and I maximize every minute that I have in order to not to make sure that I do not fall behind my work, my study, as well as taking care of my family and also kids. Right. So second, I inform my employer about and also as well as my lecturers about my situation and about my work, study, family situation, and always keep them up to date. And other than that, I am truly grateful that I have this strong, very strong support system that consists of my very supportive husband, and then understanding parents, family, and friends, and also my encouraging head of department. So actually, when we want to pursue the study, it's actually very important for us to make our loved ones, okay, or the close ones, to understand what we'll go through for another 2 to 3 years, right? So, and finally, I always remember to take good care of myself mentally and physically, because it is very easy to lose sight of your own self-care when you embark in this work study journey, and you need to stay healthy so that you will be able to handle stress in a positive way, and in order for me to always keep up with my work study also for my kids.
Interesting. I really think it's important for us to keep in check with our mental space and
Yeah.
also mental capacity for us to be in balance of not only work and study, but a lot of responsibility for us being you as a mother and Arisha as a writer and things like that. So what about you, Arisha? Because when you say that you are in the media industries, and I've been keeping up with your articles. Your articles garnered thousands of views, thousands of
Yeah.
reads. So you are a very competent writer. And in the media industry, it's a very fast-paced industry where you have to catch up with a lot of news, a lot of. You mentioned it in our discussion where the more happening of our political
Yes.
fiasco, the more things that you have to catch up as a writer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
how do you find those balance of your study line and also your work line?
So Juanisa is right. I totally agree that it is so important to take care of your mental health and your
Yeah.
physical health when you're studying and working, because you can't afford to be sick and you can't afford to be down while you're balancing so much, right?
Yeah.
But then it's important to remember to take breaks. So for me, like Juanisa said, that Alhamdulillah, I also have a very supporting family, and I feel like my job is also, as much as it is demanding, it is also still very accommodating. So I work in the media industry, and basically my job is to report news, almost report news every day, like 2 to 3 articles a day. And like Arshad said, the worse the political situation gets in Malaysia, the worse the COVID situation gets in Malaysia, the more demanding my job gets also, because obviously it is our responsibility, it is my team's responsibility to make sure that news comes out fast and accurate. But for me, my employers have always been aware that I wanted to pursue my master's. I always told them from the get-go when I wanted to apply. They were there throughout the whole process. My bosses were always aware. And then in our own HR, in terms of HR perks, we also have perks such as like I could take exam leaves, I could take paid exam leave. So whenever I have an exam, I just need to provide proof that I have an exam, and then I can take a leave from work. And then I also have unpaid leaves, unlimited unpaid leaves for studying. And then I also have, like, I can opt to take sabbatical for from my job, and my position will be held for me. And when I come back, like, I can return to that position. But for now, I have yet to like take up the offer of like a sabbatical at work. So for the past several years, I've always been like balancing both. But um, I have also been mostly an online studying student throughout my masters, because, like I said, I joined in February last year. And then in March, as you all know, like we went into MCO right in March. So I think I only went to class physically for like once or twice, maybe. And at that point, it was always like a mutual arrangement between me and my employer. So on days that I had class, maybe I would come to work earlier than everyone else. So I would be part of the morning team to push out news faster. And then by the time like my classes would start around at 5 p.m., so I would leave the office around 4:30 and then drive to work, then drive to classes. But also the fact that I where I work and where I study is close by also helps a lot. And then in terms of like online studying, also it's similar to that. Like I would be able to log in early just on the days that I have classes, and then I'll just log off a bit earlier to go to class. And my both my lecturers and my employers have always been so understanding about that. Like my employers are so understanding. They always allow me to, like, if I need to take last minute leaves, because sometimes like we don't know when exactly our due date is going to come up suddenly. Sometimes we have like a surprise quiz, surprise exam, and so on and so forth. So I don't have issues with applying for like leaves last minute because of my studies. And then at the same time, when it comes to my lecturers, like they have never given me any issue with, like, they totally understand how demanding working and studying can be. So they have always, like, if I needed extra time for my assignment, or if I wanted to be like the last to present in the class, they have never made me feel like I am judged for that. I feel like I'm sorry if I'm going on, but I wanted to add on to Khairunnisa point about your mental health. I feel like doing a master's can really affect a person's mental health. Pursuing a studies can really affect a person's mental health because you have a lot of pressure to perform and so on and so forth. But I feel like it's so important to remember that regardless that you come first, you know. So even if you feel like pressured and you can't particularly perform in an exam, then discuss with your lecturers and discuss with your employers, like, what's the issue and what would help you do best in both fields, you know? Yep.
I think it's very refreshing to listen Arisha's story about how her support system are very strong in terms of the lecturers, in terms of the employers, and family as well. Because I think like both of you mentioned, you comes first, right? So in order to you strive those two balance, and also for you to be excel in your work and study, you have to be in a good form for you to be able to get what you wanted. But we heard a lot from Arisha when she mentioned about the lecturers are being very supportive. But this is coming from a student perspective. So I wanted to know more about the lecturers itself, yourself, Khairunnisa. So what when you see your students are struggling, or not particularly struggling, but balancing those work and study. So how do you yourself wanted to be the strong support system that they owned?
Okay, so as a lecturer myself, I try to help students to balance between their work and study to the best of my ability. And with the current situation of being entirely online learning or e-learning, so I understand that these working students have constraints in terms of time. Some of my executive diploma students are frontliners. So what I can help is by first is develop a work-related assignment so that the students are easier to understand and then to execute based on their own experiences, based on their own skills and resources that they have as an employee. And the second thing is I plan the assignment submission date and also the examination date according to the suitability of the majority of the students in my class. So in sense of I'm giving them some space for negotiation. And during the first class, in every semester, I will provide my students with a lesson plan. So what's a lesson plan? So lesson plan is like a schedule or a roadmap that shows what they will go through, okay, for the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks in the semester, and what they will learn every week, such as which chapters, what tutorial questions that they have to submit, and it also shows when or which week they have to submit their assessments and also their assignments. And on top of that, I also give briefings on every assessments on the first week. So it will give them some space, okay, to plan ahead their time and actually start doing the assignments early. And I've asked around, okay, most of the lecturers here held live lectures at the beginning and at the end of the semester. So it gives opportunity for the students to have live interaction, not two-way communications with the lecturer. Okay, although it is an online learning. And other than live lectures, we also have these pre-recorded lectures and that the students can actually watch at their own convenient time. And apart from that, we also encourage students to always ask questions and to always communicate with us to inform if they have any sort of difficulties or regarding the subjects, or especially in terms of assignments, right? So uh, any difficulties on how to cope with this work or study situation, and most of the time I will try to answer as quickly and as best as possible. And in addition to that, we in UMCCed we have our own e-learning site, which is UMCCed. So we use that as a platform to allow discussions among the students in the class and also the lecturer, and also as a platform for me to upload all the teaching and learning materials for the students, such as lecture notes, video lecture, as well as the assignment guidelines. So if they don't have to use any other platform, just that main platform, the only platform that they can actually refer to.
Mm. I've never taken one Khairunnisa class lah, to be honest. But this is a little bit side information. But I shared this webinar in my personal
Mm.
Twitter, and Arisha quoted it. Quoted, and Arisha is a tweet famous. So her tweet goes around. I got a lot of replies saying that, oh, Madam Nisa is my favorite lecturer, and I can
Oh,
sense that you are a very warm lecturer that's very accommodating to the students. So that's very refreshing to hear. But I think because me myself, in all honesty, I'm also working and studying at the same time. I'm currently pursuing my masters in as well, and I really need to do this shout out to all University Malaya lecturers. You guys are very supportive in terms of accommodating to the students. Because as a master student, we have our classes after the working hours. So some of my classmates have to take their classes in the MRT, on the way back, because you finish your work at 5, but sometimes you're stuck at 5:30 at work. But your class start at 6, so they are taking their classes on the go. And I really love how many of my lecturers and our lecturers are very accommodating to, oh, it's okay, just listen to the lecture when you are done, and they're very accommodating. And especially in this pandemic per se, that a lot of I've seen my classmates are deteriorating in terms of mental health, because sometimes the job that they have does not keep the bread on the table, because of this whole economic situations are not very healthy. But I think all of us here are very fortunate to be able to get the privileges. But some people are losing their privileges, and also it affected their work and study performance if they do both.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of my lecturers are very accommodating in terms of, in this pandemic, it's okay for you not to be okay. I will accommodate you as much as you needed. And I think I think with Arisha and Pankarinisa talk a lot about supportive system. I really need to do this out to all the University Maya lecturers out there, because they're just awesome. So we're actually open for intake. So check out our website www.umcced.edu and why for our programs. But this, I think, a very personal message and a very personal heartfelt. I really think our lecturers are just the best. Okay, I think back to the topic. Um, Again, a question to Bakar Nisa about the students, because like I said just now, a lot of the students, they tend to lose balance, especially in this, not only in this pandemic lah, but working and studying, balancing both are already hard. And on top of that, this pandemic, the people are losing their privileges. So do you be able to sense if your student lose control over these privileges or over this balance? Sorry.
Most of the time, yes, because usually I will monitor the class attendance. I will monitor in terms of the submission for the tutorial and also assignments every week. So this can actually give an early signal or indication about the student's problem or situation. So the most obvious is when students fail to submit the assignments on time, or when they are absent from the classes, so that by that I can know that the students has actually some problems to cope with the situation. Yep.
Oh, so that's how you sense. So what's the
Yes.
next action to be taken when the signals are already there?
Actually, about how this, so we discuss among lecturers and we also share ideas on how to tackle this problem that actually occurs almost every semester. There will always be a student that probably have a problem, struggling with the work study situation, and what we do is we always welcome the students' feedback on problems encountered during the learning process. And usually lecturer will give flexibility, okay, a little flexibility according to the student situation. So for example, when we identify, okay, the students with the problems, we will communicate directly through email, or can actually communicate through the e-learning site, which is the UMCCed, or WhatsApp them directly, and if necessary, provide a consultation session, okay, with the students to discuss about any possible alternative arrangements, so it can have the win-win situation.
This is random questions, but estimately how many students do you have? Are you teaching? Because I'm asking this question because you were saying that, oh, you emailed them, you WhatsApp some, meaning that that's a lot of work for, as you have to teach. That's one thing, but you have to cater them personally one by one. That's another responsibility that you have on your shoulder. So that's why I asked about the estimation of the class of the students that you have.
Actually I teach both, which is diploma and executive diploma program. So for a diploma program, in particular semester, I would teach about around the 300 to 400 students per semester. And
Sorry, that reaction was quite big.
That's a lot of students.
that's true, but for executive diploma, usually 50 to 100 students only lah. It's weekend class. It's on weekend.
Cumulatively, it's around 500
About
people that you
500.
have to accommodate. And I repeatedly say this, but I really applaud you for being to give those dedications on top of your, let's say, your personal family, because you are a mother of three. Can so it's a balance that I really applaud, because I don't know. Well, I will never be a mother lah, but those balance, I don't know if I will ever to find it. So I think that is all for us to share today. I think today's discussion have been very, very insightful. It's very refreshing, and I would say quite motivating for me to hear both perspective, for all of us to hear both perspective, and those warm heart actions taken by both of the sides. I think last question before we wrap up. We start with Arisha. What are the most advice that would you give for people when they decide this decision of working and study?
I feel like the most important thing is to remember that it is not like your undergrad anymore. I feel like that was a very difficult thing for me to unlearn. Like, I always put the pressure on myself to study like an undergrad student, but you cannot. It cannot be like that. You have to face the fact that this is a postgraduate program, and it is very different than when you were an undergrad, because when as an undergrad you had a lot of time. You were able to sometimes mind a bit earlier in the semester and then baru take it up. But you cannot put the same methods as an undergrad as a postgrad student. But at the same time, that also means that you have to remember that a postgrad program is also much tougher than an undergrad program. That's why not many people pursue a postgrad program. That's why a lot of people tarik diri from postgrad programs, right? But you have to also remember that it's not impossible, and never be too scared of like talking to your lecturers and so on and so forth, because guess what? Your lecturers also went through those postgrad programs. They also understand the struggle. So I've realized that that's the most important thing. You really have to not do it anymore like it is not treated as an undergrad program. There's no my mind anymore. There's no my mind anymore. Not saying that it has to be serious. It means that you have to approach it differently. Like, for example, as an undergrad, the schedule of my program was like, it will allow you a lot of time to my mind in the beginning of the semester,
Especially if you don't work, because undergrad is a full-time work. It's a full-time study.
You study full-time, and then you always have classes. Classes during undergrad lagi banyak sebenarnya. I would take, for example, like 8 subjects a single semester as an undergrad, but as a postgrad, I'm only taking 2. But that's why, like, you shouldn't treat a postgrad program like an undergrad. Like in my first semester, I tried to take like maybe 3 or 4 subjects, and I realized that that's completely not possible because I have other responsibilities now, and I'm doing a postgrad program. Like you should allow yourself to, like, if you need to defer one semester, like, don't take it so hard on yourself. It is not the worst thing to happen to you, you know. So do what it takes to continue studying to make sure that you are okay in this program, and just take it slow. Basically, I think that's the best advice I would say. So,
Thank you, Arisha. What about you, Madam Nisa?
I totally agree with Arisha. It's actually postgrad is actually harder than the undergrad. Okay, personally, from my experience, and my advice is maybe perhaps many things that work study is difficult, kind of, for those who is thinking about the work study. But based on my own experience, it is not too hard to work and study at the same time. I've been there before. I juggling between work, study, and kids and family, and on top of that, as you've mentioned, Arshad, I actually expecting my second child when I'm in second and third semester, and I deferred during my fourth semester. So what I'm trying to say is, it's okay if you want to take the break a little while, because you can put too much stress on yourself, and but it's to pull through, and I survived
True, true.
despite all the struggles and the hardships, and it is totally worth it. So therefore, my advice is for those who are thinking about working and pursuing this study at the same time, is you need to be ready, okay, before, and be fully prepared mentally, physically, and financially, before you start. And finally,
Yeah,
you
right.
have to trust yourself, trust your own abilities to pursue your dreams, to have maybe higher academic qualification, or maybe you want to have a career development, and all the struggles and hardships, it will all be worth it. You will be a better
True,
version of
true.
yourself. I can promise that. Okay, so that's
True. Yeah, I think to wrap up the advices, actually to take up the work and study responsibility is first and foremost to understand your responsibility, to know that because when we talk about work and study, we are looking at postgraduate and also like our program is executive diploma. It's not going to be as the same as undergraduate, where our focus is only one to study, but in terms of balancing both work and study, you have more responsibility to juggle. So understanding that your responsibility is the number one for you to do to be able to go through. Because Arisha mentioned about postgrad. This is an additional information. is currently open for remote learning and also online distance learning. So this is open for our postgrad. So for more information on our remote learning, so remote learning is a conventional program with study methods implemented in situations where students are not physically present in a traditional classroom, but attending classes remotely. So it's open for our international friends who are watching this. So the teaching and learning are conducted remotely from home or off campus, while ODL or open distance learning is to to overcome these existing barriers compared to the conventional learning, where learning and teaching are implemented basically without geographical limitations. Especially in this pandemic, we are seeing a lot of limitation in terms of moving from one side to another side. So this is why is opening our remote learning and our ODL soon for our postgraduate program. So you can look up to that information in our website. So I think I will conclude that. Thank you so much, Arisha and Madam Nisa, for this lovely session. I think I learned a lot from it. I'm sure the webinar viewers also learned a lot from it.
thank you for having
thank you,
me.
Arshad.
Thank you. Okay, for our viewers, I wanted to say this again that our executive diploma is open until the sorry open until the 26th of September, meaning you have 1 month for you to consider your work and study schedule. We are open at www.umcced.edu.my, so you can go ahead and check us out for all the informations. With that, I thank you for watching this webinar. My name is Ashad Shahruddin. Thank you.